Hello, everyone, and welcome to the I Love Nicole show. I'm Nicole, your host, and tonight we are going to do things a little differently. Tonight is about community. That is, taking your own talents and those of the people around you and making something new, something spectacular. Everyone grows. You, the people around you, your community, and then your community grows. And before you know it, you have made the world a better place. It really is that simple, isn't it? And yet, how do you do that? Well, we have two people from two different fields who are going to show you their way of manufacturing and manifesting creativity. The first is Gary Swanson. Gary is a seasoned actor who has played many different roles and had the pleasure of studying under Lee Strasberg, who is the founding father of method acting. Now, in case you don't know, method is used by usually pretty hardcore actors like Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, and Sean Penn. And Gary takes all of that knowledge and has formed a camp in Montauk where artists can go and hone their craft with intensive training. It's kind of like actors boot camp. Check it out. And here we are with Gary Swanson. Hello, Gary.
Hello, Nicole.
And welcome to the I Love Nicole show. So tell me, start from the beginning. There's so much happening with you. Tell me.
I started my work as an actor basically in the circus, believe it or not. I was a high diver in the circus, and I used to dive from 80 feet in Atlantic City. And that was show business. And then the next year, I went to New York City and walked into an agent's office and got agents and started, but I didn't know what I was doing. And there was a new form of fear there, so I figured I better figure out what it was that this was about. And that's what led me to begin to really study. I got on a soap opera right away. I got on Somerset right away, in an NBC soap opera. And so I had the money, and I went over 13th Street, and it was, and there I walked in the winter's night to sign up, and there was this little man there, about 5'5", and he was putting on his coat, and he had owl glasses, and he looked at me for a second, and he was checking the mail at the desk from the young lady there, and I looked up and I said, "Mr. Strasberg." He looked down at me, and I said, "Your performance in The Godfather was consummate." Don't know why that word came out of my mouth. I regretted it immediately. And Strasberg looked at me, and he buttoned up his coat, and then he walked away, and he didn't say anything. And I thought, oh my God, the moment with the greatest master in the world. And Connie at the table said, "He liked you." I said, "How did you get that from that response?" "Because he looked at you. He liked you." Strasberg had the greatest mind, one of the greatest minds of the century. Yeah. And I then started working with him. I then began to delve deeply into the most exciting adventure of my life. I began to love acting and the process of acting more than I worried about getting work, which I did, because I was on a soap opera, and then I did 150 National Network commercials. I was the Irish Spring Man, I was the Foster Grants Man, but then I did a lot of television shows, and I did a lot of plays, and I went to LA and I worked constantly on Baba Black Sheep, and I did a lot of nighttime TV shows, Kojak. I worked with Telly Savalas. Wow. Great experience to make Lollipop. You're a beautiful kid.
So Gary, tell me about Lee Strasberg, how he was so instrumental in setting up with method and this very unique experience that so many actors love. Tell me about it.
Well, Strasberg started in the Jewish theater when he was 17 or 18 years old, and then was influenced by the Russians who came over to this country after the Moscow Art Theater had made such an impression on the world. They taught at the New School. Mm-hmm. Lee studied with them, learned the sensory work, learned the exercises, and was affected by Marie Uspensky, Vakhtangov, and from there he continued to develop as an actor, but then started to make his mark in New York City at a time when theater was the key. Movies were not the thing.
That's right.
And he met Harold Clurman, and they bonded, and from there they decided they were going to take what the Russians had done and bring it and make sure that America understood it, and they were going to create the greatest theater that America's ever known, and they did with the group theater.
And what was it that the Russians brought? What is that? What is that method thing?
They were looking for how you create real life on stage. The ability to respond truly to imaginary circumstances, whereas many different techniques have indication, mime, where the English for many years were content with the way something would look. And quite wonderfully, by the way. But what they were trying to find, what the Russians were trying to find, was how do you find so much of the actor's interior that the audience is moved to the point where they're changed. And that's what Lee was trying to do, and that's what they did when the group theater in 1929, I think 31 to 38, changed the world.
So what was it like to work with Lee the way that you did?
It's transformative. It was life transformative. I studied with him in New York, and then because I had the money, because I was working all the time, because I was working with him, I was getting movies and television, and so I'd be in his classes in New York and L.A. and back and forth, and became very close to Lee, and spent time with him and his family, and got to know Anna, and the thing about Lee was that he was so on track all the time, and he was so insightful that he could go inside and, like a jeweler, figure out where the diamonds were and then chip them away, and then you grew internally from that.
Now, what is the name of the method camp that you have for actors?
6 years ago, I took a bunch of my students out to my house in Montauk. I have a beautiful place out there and big backyard, and they said, come on, we're going to do what they did in the group theater, what Lee and Strasberg and Harold Clurman did, and we're just going to work on acting all summer long.
Cool.
And this thing took place. It was like jazz all of a sudden forming, and events took. These kids are working and they're growing, and I'm watching. Of course, you're going to sit there and condense the work, and it's going to go wonderfully, and it did. And so then I did it the next year, and the next year. This is the 6th year now we're doing it. It's called the Montauk Group. If you go to GarySwanson.org, GarySwanson.org, go to the Montauk Group, go on my website, you're going to see what we're doing.
Private moment, Brett eats pie and ice cream.
I'm trying to do something here, we're doing something, so don't knock me when I'm trying to do what I do. That the reason that there's usually a great deal of confrontation with this kind of thing is because you're dealing with the most enigmatic thing you can imagine. That is the human imagination put into a form. It's an artistic form that is visible, that can be felt, can be heard, can be felt sometimes. And when you're getting people together for that,
scream out, and then I feel like there's people around, and I don't, I know I gotta be quiet, but fuck them. Fucking A, yo. Oh, no, shut up. Oh, this fucking, get the fucking,
Getting lost in the line.
okay, everybody, let's come back.
I am here.
Yes, you are. People think this is easy exercise?
Wow, Gary, that was amazing. I love it.
I never get tired of watching that because I love to watch those kids grow. It's an astonishing experience to be involved with that.
It looks like it. Great. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again. Thank you on the I Love Nicole show. And we'll have to go and check out your camp. That sounds fantastic.
And congratulations on your show.
Thank you very much. When I think of acting school, I think of some of my great teachers that I had, one of which, her name was Jackie Bartone, and if anybody that is from American Academy of Dramatic Arts is watching this, they're going to go, oh yes, I know her. But anyway, Jackie used to do this thing where you would be watching someone's scene, and the guy would, be making a play for the girl, and afterwards Jackie's like, what do you want from her? And he's like, well, I want her to love me, I guess, is my motivation. And she's like, no, you want to fuck her. You want to fuck her. What the fuck? No, do it next time. Figure it out. So you'd come in next time and you're like all like fucking raging, and you're just like, and she's like, what's your motivation? And he's like, I want to fuck her. She's like, no, you want her to love you. You want her respect. What do you mean what are you going to take your fucking clothes off next? What is this? We don't want to see your dick. You're like, what? But you know what? It all made sense. You have these teachers, you're like, I don't understand. Is it sex? Is it not sex? But yet, at the end of the day, she's right. She's right. So I help out my community. I give advice to my friends. I think I do a pretty good job of it. But maybe I could do a little bit more. What's your name?
I'm Harris.
Harris, nice to meet you.
You're Nicole.
Yeah.
I'm coming for relationship advice.
Talk to me, Harris.
I have a friend named Becky who is delusional.
Okay.
And she constantly asks me for my advice about things. But she never asks me about me. And it's draining. And I don't want to say to her...
Are her delusions interesting?
No.
Not at all?
No.
They're like sour in the toilet.
Ones.
Is it the same delusion
the
constantly?
Same one over and over.
Oh, see, no. You have to put that a stop to. No. You can't do that. There is another draining question. It's all about no. You want to tell the same story all the time, then you tell the same story. I don't have to hear it. Right? You want to tell me something different? Tell me about a new pair of shoes, right?
Exactly.
Tell me something. That's what you do. You interrupt her, and you say, listen, if this is the same story, I can record it because I have it 15 times already, right?
I should say that.
Yeah.
Why don't I say that to her?
Yeah. And then say, you know what? I have a story. And then tell her something that she hasn't heard. She can like the story or not, but at least it's something new. And then she knows what you're asking her for. Right?
That's great advice.
There you go, Harris.
Wow. You really know what you're doing.
Thank you very much. Anyone have a question?
My next wife.
Where are you going to find your next wife?
When?
Well, I don't know. Maybe today?
Nah, I met my first one coming right down here.
Really? Recently?
Nah,
just now? You're ready to move on to a second one? 12 years ago?
Yeah.
So now you're looking for the other one? Try the other side of the part. Right? So you need advice.
I do need advice.
So tell me.
Okay, so here's my question. It's a little serious. My boyfriend, who I absolutely adore, he needs to go to therapy. It's evident that he has to go to therapy. He doesn't feel comfortable for the usual manly reasons. I want to open up, etc., etc. But he just recently told me something very serious that he did in his past. That he has a lot of guilt of it. I think a lot of it's fabricated. I'm not sure if it's as precise as he says. But I'm asking, what do you recommend in terms of healing? Because we cannot go to a therapist and we can't go to a religious person because it's their duty to report whatever the hell he did.
So basically, your man is kind of dealing with some things, and you want to help him through it, but you want to know a good way to do it since he's not willing to open up.
Well, I mean, he can't go to professional because they will have to tell on him. You know what I mean? So it's what do you do? How do you deal with that kind of guilt?
Interesting. That's quite a question that you have here. Well, I think first of all, what you need to do is you need to protect yourself, because you have this energy around you that is, very who knows where, right? And so if you get who knows where, then, we're all in kind of like the foghorn deep in the ocean, right? So really, I think you need to concentrate on making yourself be strong enough to be able to help him through what he's going through, right?
Yeah.
A lot of women want to feel what somebody else is feeling, and, no matter what, everyone's got an idea to do what they want to do, right? So.
Thank you so much.
Well, I told you that this show was going to be different, and that applies also to our musical segment. Usually we bring you great up-and-coming bands in New York City. This time we're bringing you the man behind the music. Someone has to create the space and time, then find the musicians, and then bring them together and let it all roam free and let it create. Well, that is what Sam Teichman is doing. He is creating a venue for artists to meet other artists and go beyond their current knowledge together. Kind of sounds like a utopia, doesn't it? So here we are with Sam Teichman. Welcome to the show, Sam.
Thanks for having me, Nicole.
Thank you. So tell me, how did you get started with all of this community awesomeness that you're doing?
Well, I've been doing music videos for musicians, more specifically, for quite some time. And I noticed that a lot of the artists enjoyed collaborating with each other, and that they all knew of each other, but weren't all, hadn't all met or played together. Mm-hmm. And after watching a friend of mine organize a bunch of bands together to perform Abbey Road, and then a friend of mine asked me to help him organize a charity show for the victims of the Chile earthquake back in 2010, I realized that there's this amazing community that all sort of know of each other, but maybe don't meet often enough, and that the artists really wanted to play and give back. And that they're also busy working on their own music and trying to make their own careers happen, that they don't have the time, per se, to devote to these bigger pictures, and
to try to collaborate that themselves.
Right. Yeah. And that's, it's tough as an artist in New York City, especially in any genre, especially music, to sort of stand out. There's so much talent. It's a full-time job. Mm-hmm. And if there was someone who was able to get a venue and get a crowd and say, hey, let's all meet up and do something cool and use the music to give back. And I thought it would be a one-time thing, and the response was so powerful from the fans, from the charity, from the artists especially. It made sense to just see if I could keep it going, which is what has happened thus far. Is it's sort of taken on a life of its own.
Wow. So, and I know that's very difficult to be able to assemble those things. How did you get started in being able to assemble such a crowd and get these bands?
Each show in the Leave a Lasting Mark series is one band or one genre or one moment in time. Mm-hmm. And the artists, what I attempt to do is put artists with each other who don't normally play together to sort of force this cross-pollination.
Cool.
So if I have a bassist and a drummer and a singer from one particular band, I may not put them together. Specifically so that they can see what it's like to play with someone new, experience that new chemistry, and there's moments on stage that just sort of happen when you put talented people together for the first time.
Right.
And I've heard from the fans, it's real magic to sort of like see what happens when you put two guitarists or three guitarists, and they have to figure it out on the fly.
It must be like watching I always make food references here for some reason, but something like watching a sundae getting built. It's like you start with the ice cream, and then you have the sprinkles and the this and the that, right?
I wish I would have brought like a page of my notes. I write on like the back of like set lists and like empty envelopes. I start writing names, and then I start making numbers and star notes and little marks next to. And somehow I managed to create these groupings of, bass and drum and guitar, and then I find a way to make a female singer, then a male singer, or up-tempo, and I don't know how it all comes together. I sort of like step back like a painter, and I'm like, oh, so that kind of works. And then we get into rehearsal, and the artists just if we're missing a part, or there's a part that can be doubled, or vocals that need to be added, the artist just, oh yeah, I know that song, oh, I can do that part.
Wow.
And without my planning even, in rehearsal, these songs just take shape. Wow. And then when the fans see it at the show, it's actually a product, not of a lot of time, but a lot of creativity. Because the artists have a week or two to learn the songs and collaborate, but in rehearsal, in those 3 hours, they really do sort of become a 25-person band.
Wow.
It's just a crowd. Here we go. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. Wow. La, la, la. La, 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 la. La, 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 la.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm so looking forward to it. So, where you have a few shows coming up before we get to the...
Yeah, we have, the Blues Brothers show went over so well. We did it at Rockwood Music Hall, which is over on Allen Street in the Lower East Side, which is one of the 2 homes of the series. We did that last week, and it went over so well we thought we'd do it again. So the Bitter End, which is the other venue that is so gracious to host us over on Bleecker Street, the historic Bitter End, is hosting us on August 16th, which is a Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. And it's $5, so it's 2 hours of music, $5. It's all to charity. And then the very next week, the series, the Leave a Lasting Mark concert series, is partnering with the Samuel Waxman Cancer Research Foundation, which is this huge cancer research group, and they're doing an event called Music for a Cure. They've got City Winery, which is over in Tribeca, this beautiful room, great winery. We're doing that August 23rd, which is also a Tuesday. So we're doing that show in conjunction with the Samuel Waxman Foundation. Tickets can be bought online at City Winery, various prices. We have a great lineup of 5 local acts, including Pearl and the Beard, Casey Shea, Robbie Gill, Lenka, who's this amazing pop star who's settled herself in Brooklyn for now. And then next month we're doing a huge blowout for my birthday in September back at Rockwood, which will be The Last Waltz by the band, one of the most famous concerts of all time.
Awesome.
So 3 shows coming up, and all the info's online.
Great.
At the Leave a Lasting Mark concert series Facebook page, and you can look it up real easy. There's info all over the place on all the obvious locations.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sam.
And how do I feel when my love is away?
Are you sad because you're on your own?
I don't know, but I feel okay. I get tired. What I need is my hurting. All I need is my love. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, lie, lie. We're just a crowd. Here we go. La, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Wow. Lie, lie. Lie, 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 la, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, lie, lie. Each other on the street down in
that looks like a smorgasbord of awesomeness. I definitely want to check out one of their future dates. So cool what they're doing. Did you see how many people they had up there? And the vibe is amazing, as was Sam's. Thanks, Sam. Well, I hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something on this episode. That's the goal here, to bring the love and the light and the beautiful creativity to you. And the comedy. We are also all about the comedy. And that is why next week's episode is dedicated to the laughy hearty har har. Bring your Depends, the adult diapers, because you might need it. Thank you for joining us on the I Love Nicole show. I'm Nicole, and remember,